You're listening to U Radio. Let your voice be heard. My name is Ryan Funk. You're on U Talk, a program dedicated to diversity, highlighting native-born and new Canadians' cultures and experiences. English can be a difficult skill to master and can be a significant endeavor for many immigrants to overcome when they move to Canada. Laura Castillo was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Her parents were political refugees who fled the dictatorship in Chile. Laura's family would then move back to Chile when she was 12. The experiences of her parents and her own living in Chile inspired Laura to dedicate herself to teaching. She is an ESL teacher and launched online classes through Bridges English Language School.
I've been back in Canada for about 19 years now, almost 20. And I think that there is so much variety within Canada that I've been able to kind of enjoy both cultures in Canada as well. And I'll get to that in just a minute. So I think the biggest difference is that the Chileans in general have this ability to just laugh about absolutely everything and anything. And so in general, they don't really take life as serious as sometimes it's taken here. That's not to say that they aren't, that they don't, that they're not concerned for their lives or well-being, but they are definitely a group of people that really enjoys their everyday life and appreciate the people that are around them. And no matter what the situation, they will try to find a positive in a negative situation. So just to give you an example, right now in Chile, there's been a social uprising happening for over a year now. It started in October 2019. And that people have been protesting on the streets for political and social changes. They were able to get the government to call on government. They were able to get the government to change the constitution, and so there was a reform on that. And so people have actually taken to the streets, and they get very serious when it comes to social and human rights and politics. We come from a very, very political background, and that goes back to when the Spaniards actually took over South America. So it's something that we carry with us. It's very important for us. So when our families came to Canada, a lot of the people brought that with them. And so to this day, we are able to meet in our smaller communities, our ethnic communities. We have our friends, and I have friends who are also bilingual, so we'll speak a lot of Spanglish. And we enjoy, both sides of our cultures, because at this point, most of us, we've lived here, most of our lives. So we have the Chilean and the Canadian roots at this point. And so when I started off with the idea of, it's so diverse here, we've actually really been able to interact with other ethnicities and communities because of that flexibility and just positivism that I feel that we have. Now, every culture has their I was going to say pizzazz, but I don't know if that's an appropriate word, but every culture has something about them that just makes them unique. And we've kind of learned to adapt to each situation, no matter what.
Your background, you're heavily involved in education. I guess what kind of inspired that?
Oh, it's, what, when I was in high school, I thought that being a teacher was something so cool. And I remember I was in Chile at this point in high school. And I remember mentioning to one of my teachers that I wanted to be a teacher. And she actually looked at me and she said, "Well, you're stupid. Why would you want to be a teacher?" And I didn't know what to do. I was stunned. My world came crashing down. And so I thought, well, maybe she's right. Maybe I am in the wrong
On the wrong path.
On the wrong path. And so, it kind of stuck to me for a while. And then I tried to go into different other professions. So I did 1 year of law in the university in the northern region. And unfortunately, that I wasn't able to continue with that because I didn't have the financial means to be able to continue in that profession. And then when I moved back to Canada, at this point, I was already pregnant with my daughter. And so I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I need money and I need something fast and I need to do something. So I thought that nursing would be a good alternative. I tried it and I got to my first rounds at the hospital, and I was in the geriatric ward, and the grandparents, the elderly in there were so cute and they were so adorable, but I did see a lot of things that were hurtful. It's kind of sad to get to that age. And everything was okay, but I wasn't happy. Just walking into the hospital or into the onto the ward, the smell, it was getting to me. Because they have that bleachy smell. Yeah. And so then I just decided, I thought about it. They don't have weekends. They have to work nights. They have to work holidays. And me being a single mom, I wasn't going to be able to be around as often as I wanted, right? So if it was just me and my family who were going to go to my daughter's Christmas concerts, well, I couldn't stop. I had to be there. And so at that point, I had already been teaching or being the teaching assistant in the Spanish department at the University of Manitoba. And I loved it. That was my place. I just absolutely loved it. We did stuff with I did what the instructors told me to do with the students, but I'd always go the extra mile and try to help them figure things out a little bit more and whatnot. So at that point, I said, nope, I'm going to get my Bachelor of Education. And I did it. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. They were offering course credits if we took EAL. It's not considered a teachable subject, but it was something to supplement what we could do. And they would give us a certification at the end of it. And then we just had to take an extra courses. So I took them. And when I graduated, I had my EAL certification. But my teachable subjects are actually Spanish and history. And now with the EAL, it was very difficult to find a job when I graduated that would take someone with the background that I particularly had, and I was mostly focused on senior years, so teenagers. So it was heartbreaking to know and to see actually that there were people that were hired for EAL courses or classes in the high schools, but were not certified or did not have the training needed, and they were hired because they had been teaching somewhere in Japan or China for a year, and so that I moved into I worked in a Hutterite colony actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I worked at a Hutterite colony and I taught a multi-level ESL or EAL class to a group of about 16 kids. I think 10 or 12 of them were boys and 3 or 4 of them were girls. And so it was the most interesting experience that I think I've had so far. Great group of kids. It's very different culture shock at that point with them.
When it comes to EAL or ESL, are there language or cultural barriers to overcome when helping teach English as a second language?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We need to be tolerant, patient, and open-minded. Because sometimes what we think, and I've learned this over the years, that there are a lot of times when we think that that it's common sense, for example, that something is common sense. People should know. But the reality is that they don't know. And what is common sense for us is not common sense for them. Right? So something as simple as, and this is just a random example, something as simple as taking your shoes off when you go into someone's home. Well, for us, that's common sense. It's not something we necessarily talk about. But for others, that is just the most ridiculous thing ever. Why would you take your shoes off? Where you have to be a little bit more careful is when you talk about those, when people start to talk about religion and politics and sexuality, those are the areas that would be a little bit more controversial. But over the years, I've actually learned that bringing up those topics in the classroom, as long as it's done with respect and very tactfully, it's actually a good thing because it gets the conversation going and it starts to create an atmosphere of trust and of understanding that we do need to be tolerant. We do need to be accepting of other people's beliefs and values and of the experiences that they're bringing into a classroom or even to a friendly relationship. Because, I firmly believe there are no bad people. They're just different.
When learning English, what are some key steps or techniques people can utilize when learning this?
That's a good question because there are so many steps within learning a language. I think the first thing that people need to understand is that learning English is a skill. It's not information. So that's one of the things that people need to realize. It doesn't matter whether you're jumping from one class to another. What is important is being able to use the language in different scenarios because that's what it's the skill, right? It's almost like learning how to ride a bike. You can't just hop on a bike and then go to another level. No, you have to actually learn how to do it continuously. Otherwise, you're going to fall. I think one of the key steps and key techniques that I've told students is to, number one, repeat and be consistent. Repetition and consistency in learning and in reviewing their lessons is key because that's what's going to drill it into their minds in some way or another. And then, they have to also understand that when we learn a language, we take 3 steps forward and then we take 1 step back. So we will forget certain things, but then again, we take another 3 steps. We've still made progress, but then we'll forget a few things. And that's just normal. That doesn't mean anyone is, that they just can't. Everybody can, to a certain degree, of course. And also that people need to understand that it's not a race. The person sitting beside you may not know, and they may, our perception of that person may be that they know a lot, but they don't. So everybody needs to understand that learning this skill is individual, and there's no need to race with anyone. It's not a competition. It's about our own personal ability. And finally, is to just have confidence and trust in themselves. So, one of the things that one of my, I guess, key trademarks or expressions that I've always used in the classroom was because we use CLB levels in Canada, right? So Canadian language benchmarks. And one of the things that I've always said to students is, when you go up and you speak to someone, I want you to think that you are a benchmark 10. There's no benchmark. Oh no, there's a benchmark 10, but that's like university master's level almost. And so the other person doesn't know benchmarks. I mean, the reality is that in order to know how high a benchmark is, you have to be a teacher. And most jobs, most places that people go to, they don't know benchmarks. and what the other person doesn't know, well,
Yeah.
so they can be a benchmark 5. Doesn't matter. I want you to walk in there and I want you to pretend that you are a benchmark 10. And then just go with it. Trust yourself. If they don't understand, doesn't matter. Reword it and keep going. Don't doubt. And if, it comes with practice.
Bridges English Language School provides English language classes to people living in Canada, Canadian citizens welcome, and all over the world. They try to cater to the needs of people who need flexibility because of their busy schedules and personal responsibilities. Laura would like to invite anyone who's interested to contact them at bridges.esl.school@gmail.com or contact them through Facebook. More details can be found at www.bridgesealschool.com. If you have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight, leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk, and have yourself a good one.